Hello and welcome to Shortcut Up CNC. This is video number 3 of creating a wave panel. In this particular video, we're going to show how to create a wave panel, and the wave is not going to be obscured like it is in this particular instance here. In this instance, you got all the flats that are all level. We're going to create that to a wave pattern. The wave is going to be through the grooves also. So it won't be obscured down below the flats. So I'll show you an example of what I'm talking about, and then we'll create it. There's the wave and there's the grooves. Now, if you notice, the wave is no longer obscured. It is part of the grooves. And what's nice about this too is you notice here in the low area, it's real light on the grooves. You can actually make that go away by changing the depth to, let's say, 500, and then recreate the tool pass again. And there you got a different look. No grooves on the lower ends there. So let's get to it. And I'll show you that's a way you can change the panels up just by changing the profile depth cut of your grooves. Okay, now we're going to delete the tool pass because I'm going to recreate those. And we're going to go ahead up here to the layer. I'm going to turn off the wave panel because I don't need that. It's on sheet 1. And the alternating endpoints, we're going to go ahead and get rid of what's on that layer, the data of it also. Okay, so now we have no vectors for the grooves or the rail vector for our sweep. Now, I'm not going to show you how to recreate this because this is in video number 2. If you want to learn how to create this, watch video number 2 of creating a wave panel. So we're going to leave this as is, and we're going to go up here and we're going to get a vector drawn at the edge, and you stretch it out and you hit the space bar to disconnect. So now we've got our rail vector, we've got our contour vector. We can close this. We highlight both of these items and holding the shift key down and going from one to the next. And then you go close that, and you're going to get the molding tool path. It's created here. And of course, it's going outside the panel. So what I need to do here is right click on the rail vector and it'll show this little pop-up, reverse the direction. It reversed the arrows. If you've watched the arrows on there, it's going from here to there. If I click on it again, it changes it. Excuse me. So there we have our vectors created for the sweep. Now up here, you notice it says 7191. Now the model is, well, we don't have a model in here, but the wave is 7.191 going from the bottom to the top here. So we have a 31 thousandths excess material to play with. Now, this is the top, this is the bottom. I prefer this excess material to be part of my panel. if I take the slider and I move it to where it's up on top, it'll cut it away and then it'll cut your grooves. So we're going to leave it like it is. So everything looks good there. So we say calculate, and there we have our wave pattern, and we're going to go ahead and play it. Whoops. Even I make mistakes. We reset, play it again. There we got our wave pattern. And the excess material is added to the bottom. That 31 thousandths is part of the bottom. Okay, so now we got to go to the 2D view and we got to create our vectors for the rest of the panel. We get the polyline and I'm going to go ahead and just grab any place and go from one end to the other end, spacebar to disconnect, and then I'm going to highlight it, do an array copy. I want 64 columns, which would be 64 lines, but it's all going to be on one row of lines. And I want them to be offset at 0.75 away from each other. Now this can vary. You can change this to whatever you want. This will create the flats across the top. It's going to be 0.75. They may not be 0.75 wide, but it's going to create those. Trust me, because all you're cutting the grooves is 0.75. I mean 0.25. 0.25. The grooves are being cut but with your end mill at 0.25 end mill. So we're going to say copy that. And you notice it's offside the material. That's because of where I drew it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to center it to the panel and it looks good. And we didn't mess with the rail vector. The rail vector is all by itself. Now you have to remember this rail vector and the contour vector are part of your tool path. So when we create the profile tool path for these, you don't want to highlight the rail vector too. You just want these vectors. So now we're going to close this and we're going to go to the profile toolpath and we're going to create this. Here we're going to use a 0.5, well, let's make it 0.58 like it was before. And it's on the vector. In fact, I tell you what, let's make this 0.625. Get rid of that extra decimal. Bad habit. Always adding a decimal. Now you want to go on the vector and it creates a 0.25 groove. You do not want to project it on the toolpath of model because we have no model. You don't need tabs. You can add ramps if you want, but I don't necessarily need them. So we calculate and we'll go ahead and play it. See if it does what we want it to do, and it did. And it cut it 625 deep, which makes it very, very thin. In fact, you can take this panel and bend it to a circular shape, and it'll be wider here at the top, but this will stay on its own. I mean, this gives you some capabilities of being able to move that panel rather than straight up against a wall. If the wall's got a little bend in it, you can take and move this and that will move with it. That's one of the purposes of having all these grooves too. So not only for looks, but it can give you the option of being able to curve the panel around something. So there you have the design of the wrap. It's different from the other picture, and it's different from the video number two that I created, but it gives you another variable, another option. And if I take and change the profile depth again, let's say to 0.375, there we go, adding another decimal point. Don't need it. Calculate, and then we reset it and preview. Whoop, we gotta have our wave with it. So reset and preview both. There we go. Look at that. Nice wide. And it also made it a little thicker, maybe a little hard bending that, but you could still do it to some degree. In fact, I don't, maybe not. This one's kind of thick, especially along the groove areas here. Yeah, 0.375 won't give you the capability of wrapping that panel around something. I mean, you may be able to gently, without cracking it, breaking it, but I doubt it. But anyway, there are some variables and some differences that you can put into your uh, panels. So enjoy, folks. Thank you for watching Shark Cut Up CNC.